Hey everyone, Star Knight here. For today's video, we're gonna be drawing Dooshik with a Jooha flavored ice cream. Later on, you will know the reason why I named that ice cream with that particular name. So first of all, we're just gonna draw the gesture of how we want Dooshik to look like in our piece. So my idea for this concept is Dooshik is showing his back, and since one of our title has an ice cream word, so the ice cream will be one of the important elements for our piece today. So I decided to make him hold the ice cream while looking back at us and giving us a very sexy look. Doing the gesture gave me indeed a very hard time because when drawing abs I have no problem, but when drawing the back of a person, that gives me a little bit of a disadvantage. This is so out of my comfort zone, so after doing this piece, I learned a lot when it comes to the muscles and how they work in the back and how their shape's supposed to look like. Overall, I did learn a lot of stuff in this piece. For the arms, it gave me a little bit of an issue. That's why I had to redo it and made sure that the muscles are placed correctly. Because earlier, the arms looks very wonky when it's connected to the body. I just made him hold this ice cream in this particular pose, so later on we can add like those veins in our hand and give it more details. So we're just using the liquify tool to make sure that everything is natural and they look the way they're supposed to. After liquefying our character, we're just sketching the background so we can figure out how we want the background of our character to look like. In the background, I decided to add Jooha because how are we gonna get a pearl without him? If you know what I mean, then you're a wild one. For those of you who don't know, Dooshik and Jooha came from the BL manhwa called Pearl Boy. The story is about Dooshik. After making off with the takings from the gay bar where he worked, he seeks refuge in a small coastal town. As his funds dwindle, he desperately needs a way to make ends meet. Still, a boy's got to eat, so he dives into a clam house to satisfy his cravings. But with no money to pay, he dashed off leaving Jooha, the server, to foot the bill. Later on, when Dooshik returns to pay his debt, he's greeted by a sordid scene that offers a tantalizing glimpse of the solution to his money problems. For within, Jooha's beautiful shells lie a secret treasure waiting to be drawn out. So I just read the synopsis. The story is just basically about a guy from a gay bar and a guy who shoots pearl. The story is still ongoing, but I just want to say I am the biggest fan of this manhwa's art style. I love the way how the artist makes her drawing simple but detailed at the same time, if you know what I mean. Like, she makes the characters so hot and pretty. After adding the base color, we're just adding the base shadow. So the light is coming on top of his head. That's why we're adding more shadows in the lower part of his back. The way the shapes of the shadows works is we're just following how the muscles are formed in the back of the person and just making sure that we're following the lines for the muscles. We're just playing with the saturation and the luminosity for our colors. Since I have so much issues with making the character more vibrant and more darker, so the saturation and luminosity helps a lot with this piece. So after doing the base shadow, we're now adding a more darker shadow. We're just adding the darker shadows to the spots where the muscles is covering the light source and to make our piece have more contrast with the other shadows and lights. We're just refining the shadows in the face and making sure that everything goes well. I tried removing the lines so I could see how it looks like when it's just 3D, and I think it's a little okay. So we just added the shadow for the eye part to make it a little bit more detailed, and we just filled out the spots where it's kind of blank. Of course, let's not forget our juicy lips. It makes our character more sexier and cute. Now we're just adding the base color for Jooha at the background, and we're just doing some adjustments so he doesn't take the attention away from Dooshik, because too much details around our specific or main subject will be very confusing in the eyes of our viewer. After adding the base color for the towel on Dooshik's bottom part, we're just adding few details on Jooha. After adding a few details on Jooha, we're now focusing on rendering the towel. By putting light shadows and dark shadows, it will help the towel to have more form and make it more detailed. So again, we're just adjusting the saturation for our overall color. And here I am figuring out what I want the vibes to look like. For the color of the hair, I usually go to this part of the color wheel. I love using this type of brown. And I know brown is supposed to be somewhere in the orange category, and sometimes I use it, but mostly this type or this specific color works well with most of my work, so I frequently use this one. Now we're just adding some soft shadows to give form for the shape of the hair and to help the flow of the strands. Now we're just adding some more extra strands, and basically it makes the hair look more messy and lively at the same time. This helps to make the hair look more natural. While doing Juha's hair, I was just following our sketch, and thankfully I was able to capture the special features for his hair, and I was able to make it look natural. So it's the same I did with Dooshik. I just follow the shape of Juha's hair to help me add the shadows and lights, and we just refine the shapes more to give it more details. We are now starting to work on with the ice cream. So I want every subject in my piece to have like some sort of connection. The reason I named this ice cream Jooha's ice cream, because later on we're gonna put some magical pearls as the toppings for the ice cream. So we're just doing some adjustments in our background. Now we are starting to render our ice cream. For this part, I just picked the colors that are more saturated and darker from the base. And basically, while doing the shadows for the ice cream, we're just following the swirls. We also added a base color for our background so we can get a feel of what kind of mood we want for our piece. Now we're just cleaning the lines for our character. Usually before coloring, I always make sure that the lines for my liner are already set and ready. So doing this kind of process is something new to me. And for the past couple of days, I've been trying to figure out how or what kind of process should I do to make my process more enjoying. At the same time, it won't confuse me with the steps. So I've been trying to figure out what are the steps that I really love doing and putting it all together. While doing the background, we are now just playing with the contrast between our character and the shadow and the mood of our piece. Earlier, I wasn't able to add the highlights for our hair because I was still confused on how the light will hit our subject, so I just skipped it. But I just realized the same on how we did our shadow. We just have to follow the strands for the hair while doing the highlight. That's why studying the form of light and shadows are very important. Now we're just adding some pearls topping. Thanks to our supplier back there. If you know what I mean. So we just added the pearls everywhere and now we're adding the details for it. So I just use pink and blue for the contrast and we're now making it more darker. So when we add our highlight, it will show the pearl even more and it will help get the attention of our audience or viewer. We're just adding some strong highlights to indicate that the light is coming from above. And by doing this, it will help the mood of our portrait. I hope everyone had a great time watching me draw Dooshik and Jooha. I enjoyed drawing them so much and I have learned so much after this piece. From the anatomy of the muscles to the light, the form of light and shadows, it gave me so much more confidence to do things that are out of my comfort zone. So if you would like to see more of this kind of video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we're drawing near the end, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready?